5 years ago, my parents disappeared from my life. The catalyst? My wedding. The reason? I married my boss. They never spoke to me again. That was until they saw a Facebook post celebrating our 5th anniversary. Now, they've come crawling back, desperate to meet my kids. Should I let them in? Or is it too late for them to be a part of our lives? My husband, who used to be my boss, has been a part of my life for nearly a decade. 9 years ago, I started working as his assistant. At first, we kept our feelings buried, ignoring the undeniable attraction between us. But after 2.5 years, we couldn't fight it anymore. We confessed to each other and went straight to HR. They reassigned me, but everything was above board. We were determined to do things the right way. A year into our relationship, I found out I was pregnant. We knew we were in love, and we were already living together. A baby on the way only made our bond stronger. So, we decided to get married. Even though we'd only been dating for about 1.5 years, we knew each other completely. It was the right decision. But I had to leave my company, too, due to issues with my new boss. We didn't expect this decision to cause any drama, except with my parents. They were always overprotective. I knew they wouldn't approve of me dating my boss, so I hadn't told them. But eventually, the time came to let them know, especially if I wanted them at the wedding. We chose to be mostly honest, explaining that it had started as professional, but things had changed. When they did, we went to HR. We assured them he'd never taken advantage of me, but now, we wanted to get married and have them there. I left out the baby, didn't want to overwhelm them. I was only 4 months along at the time, so the bump was hidden by a flowy dress. The ceremony went smoothly. But then, things took a strange turn. Right before the ceremony, my mother pulled me aside, asking if I was sure about this. I reassured her I was. But after that, things got weird. The ceremony and reception were at different venues, and my parents didn't make it to the reception. I called them, but they ignored me. Then my brother called. They told him they were going home. They gave some excuse about being tired and uncomfortable, but it didn't feel right. After the wedding, I tried reaching out, but I was blocked everywhere except email. I wrote them a long letter, saying I was an adult who made an adult choice, and I hoped they could respect that. 5 years passed without a word from them. My husband and I aren't big on social media, but I posted something for our 5th anniversary. I mentioned our kids and the 3rd one on the way. Not long after, my parents left me a voicemail. They saw the post. They had no idea they had grandchildren and now wanted to meet them. I didn't respond right away, but they followed up, asking why I hadn't. It was a gut punch. It felt like they only cared now because of the kids, not because of me, or my marriage. But still, my brother thinks I should let them back in. He reminds me that I told them in my email that if they learned to respect my choices, we could talk. But now, I'm retroactively applying a time limit. I'm struggling with the idea of whether I should let them back in. My husband is not white, and I'm not sure if this has anything to do with race. I don't think they're racist. Neither does he. But something doesn't sit right. Why are they so desperate to meet our mixed-race children now? I can't figure out if I'm just being too sensitive. But when my dad snapped at my husband, calling him a racial slur, I knew something wasn't right. My mother tried to smooth things over, but the damage was done. They've messaged me multiple times since, insisting the slur wasn't a reflection of their feelings, that it wasn't about race, but about their frustration with him. They still want to meet the kids, convinced they should get to be a part of their lives. But after 5 years of silence and then this? I'm not so sure anymore. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. After all these years of wondering, it wasn't just about me marrying my boss. It was about the fact that my husband isn't white. They've shown their true colors. And now, the question isn't whether I should let them meet my kids. It's whether I should expose them to a couple of racists. That's something I can't and won't do. And as others have pointed out, This is a family that knew the pain of losing a child but still chose to throw another one away. It's hard to fathom how they could do this. One commenter put it best, they probably blame themselves for not raising you right. Another added, they see it as him stealing you away from them. It seems they don't even care about the truth, they're stuck in their own bitterness. One person even speculated, bet they just want to see if the kids are white passing before they get involved. If they've had such a problem with my husband's skin color, it's only a matter of time before they turn on our kids for the same reason. And honestly, I can't expose them to that kind of negativity. Another commenter shared their own story, how they've experienced the same exclusion. Their white grandmother referred to her as the colored grandchild, while the other called her the white grandchild. It's heartbreaking. They don't feel welcome in either family. It makes me think about my kids' future. I won't let them feel that way. Never. There was something inside me, a gnawing feeling, that told me something wasn't right. I shrugged it off as cold feet, trying to dismiss the voice in my gut. But the truth had a way of creeping in, and ignoring it became harder by the day. We got married soon after we signed the papers. But then, almost immediately, things started to crumble. Our honeymoon was a disaster. She spent the whole time complaining that I hadn't booked a better hotel. The complaints only grew louder as time passed. She started asking for more, a new apartment, a new car, jewelry, handbags. Nothing was ever enough. It was as if the moment she had the ring, the focus shifted from us to what I could provide her. I'm a doctor. I make a good living, but apparently, not enough to support the lavish lifestyle she craved. Our marriage, once filled with passion and laughter, now seemed hollow. We didn't have sex anymore. We didn't laugh. We didn't talk about anything meaningful. It was all about money, material things, and what came next on her wish list. She told me she wanted children before we got married, but then changed her mind. Now, our home, a place that should have been a sanctuary, felt more like a showroom. It was cold, sterile, and joyless. There was no warmth, no comfort, no life. I hated it. I hated her. I am 45, and I have barely enough savings to carry us for 3 months. I've always dreamed of retiring someday, of having a life outside of this madness. So I made a choice. I found a small apartment across town in a less desirable neighborhood. There's a stack of IKEA furniture waiting for me to put it together. The lease on the Mercedes she pushed me to get is up next month, and I'm replacing it with a used Prius. I'm starting therapy next week. I've already found a divorce attorney who's assured me that the prenup we signed means I won't have to pay alimony. In the next year, I hope to leave my higher-paying job, one my wife insisted I take, and find something that lets me have a life outside work. I'm going to ask out the barista who flirts with me every morning. I'm going to tell her tomorrow. And I know what's coming next. She'll cry. She'll beg. She'll demand we try therapy, but I don't want any of that. This was never right. And I'm only sorry it took me so long to realize it. I'm sorry I wasted so much of my life thinking I was doing the right thing by staying married to someone who didn't truly care for me. Update. Wow, I didn't expect the first post to blow up like it did. I just wanted to vent a little and figured I'd get a few comments wishing me luck. Instead, it's turned into something much bigger. So here's the update. Usually, I start my day with a run or a bike ride, and my wife is already up, getting dressed and making a smoothie. But this morning was different. I paced the kitchen, rehearsing what I needed to say to her. When she finally came down, I felt oddly calm. I wasn't panicked, but I wasn't exactly relaxed either. I told her I needed to talk, and she barely acknowledged me, absorbed in her coffee routine. So I just came out with it. I told her I was leaving. I told her I wanted a divorce. I told her we hadn't been happy for a long time, and I felt like she didn't care about me or my emotional needs. Immediately, the gaslighting began. She started crying about how I never buy her flowers anymore, how I don't support her, how I don't care if she's happy. I reminded her about the therapy suggestion from over a year ago, how she agreed to it but then found excuse after excuse to avoid it. I pointed out the time she ignored the budget we'd worked on. I told her how I felt dismissed when I tried to talk to her about my feelings. The crying turned into begging, asking for a chance to make things right, to go to therapy, to be better. But I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. Whatever love I once felt for her was gone. It was as if she was a distant relative crying about her own marriage, and I had no connection to it at all. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I just walked out. She's been blowing up my phone with calls and texts, ranging from angry to desperate, from begging to threatening. I even got calls from her mother. But I had a calm conversation with my own mother. I explained that I was sorry she didn't hear it from me, but my wife was draining me, both emotionally and financially, and I couldn't take it anymore. To my surprise, my mother was supportive. Now, I'm in my new apartment. I unrolled the mattress from its box and went to Walmart for some sheets. I had takeout for dinner at the kitchen counter and watched some Netflix on my computer. I have everything I need for the next few days. My wife is being served the papers tomorrow. I keep expecting to feel sadness, but it hasn't come. I feel like a 1,000-pound weight has been lifted off my shoulders. My future suddenly feels full of possibilities. I'm going to travel, try new restaurants, and take a job that actually makes me happy instead of just wealthy. As for the barista, yes, I'm going to ask her out. Despite what some people may think, she's actually age-appropriate. It's her family's business, and I can tell the difference between customer service and genuine connection. As for the internet's concerns, let me just clarify. I met the barista about a year ago. She's 30. I don't usually wear a wedding ring because of my job, which requires me to scrub regularly. A few months in, she invited me to a food truck festival. When I told her I was married, she was embarrassed. Since then, we've had a running joke about whether I'm still married. So now, my plan is simple. I'll reply, not for long, and see what happens. I get the hesitation, but I promise I'm not a creep. When my ex and I finally decided to get divorced, we had to go in person to change the utilities into her name. The clerk asked why we were switching it. When we told her, she was shocked and said, "But you both look so happy." And we just looked at each other and said, "That's exactly the point. Happy to be getting divorced. It feels good to be honest." And honestly, we're on the same page.